Ever get that feeling, when you're scrolling online and something just feels off?
Off, how do you mean?
Like you stumble across a profile and it's just too perfect. Or you're reading comments and they all sound exactly the same. Almost like, well, not a real person wrote them.
I think I see what you mean. Kind of like a feeling that the internet is becoming less human.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's more automated.
You know, there's a theory out there that's been gaining some traction. It's called the dead internet theory, and it attempts to explain this exact feeling.
The dead internet theory, okay, that sounds a little ominous. So are we saying the internet is, like, actually dead?
Well, not in the literal sense, but the theory suggests that a lot of the content we see online might be generated by bots rather than real people.
Bots. So like those spam comments you see everywhere.
It's more than just spam. Think about trending topics, viral posts, even entire profiles. The theory suggests that a large portion of this activity might be driven by sophisticated bots designed to mimic human behavior.
So instead of interacting with real people, we're essentially talking to a bunch of algorithms.
That's the gist of it, and it's a pretty unsettling thought, right?
Definitely unsettling. I mean, it makes you wonder, what's the point of even being online if everyone's just talking to bots?
Well, that's what we're going to explore in this deep dive. We'll unpack the dead internet theory, look at some real-world examples, and discuss what it all means for the future of the internet.
Sounds fascinating, but also a little terrifying. For this deep dive, we're drawing on two sources. A Turkish YouTube video titled, and forgive my pronunciation, Uli internet teorisi interneti kullanan kaldımı, and another video titled, Dead Internet Theory is Real Now.
Both of those videos bring up some interesting points about how the internet has evolved and how this evolution might have led to the phenomenon described by the dead internet theory.
Okay, so before we dive headfirst into this potential bot-filled abyss, can we back up a bit? I mean, the internet wasn't always like this, right?
Absolutely not. Think back to the early days of the internet, what we call Web 1.0, which was roughly from 1989 to 2004. It was a very different landscape.
Different how? I mean, I remember dial-up and those clunky websites.
Exactly. Back then, creating a website required some serious technical skills. You needed to know how to code, which meant the online world was mostly populated by tech-savvy individuals and companies.
So it was like a digital country club. You had to have the right skills to even get in the door.
That's a great analogy. It was a much smaller, more exclusive space.
So when did things start to change? When did the internet become, the internet as we know it today?
Well, things really took off with the advent of Web 2.0, which roughly started in the mid-2000s. That's when platforms like WordPress emerged, making it incredibly easy for anyone to create a website or blog, regardless of their technical skills.
Ah, so this is where things started to democratize. The internet became more accessible to the average person.
Exactly. And with that accessibility came a surge in user-generated content. Think about early social media sites like Lunar Storm. It was all about connecting with others, sharing personal updates, and forming online communities.
And then came the giants, right? MySpace, Facebook, all those platforms that took this concept of online connection and amplified it on a massive scale.
Precisely. And this shift from a company-dominated internet to one where individuals had their own platforms was monumental. It seemed like the internet was finally fulfilling its original promise, connecting people around the world.
But somewhere along the line, things started to shift, right? We started to see the cracks in this utopian vision of a connected world.
That's right. This shift, while groundbreaking, also laid the foundation for the very phenomenon the dead internet theory tries to explain.
So how did we go from digital friendships to, well, a potentially bot-dominated internet? Where did things go wrong?
It all boiled down to what's known as the alignment problem. See, initially, the goals of these platforms aligned with user satisfaction. They wanted to create engaging spaces where people could connect and share.
That makes sense. I mean, happy users means more users, right?
Exactly. But as these platforms grew, so did they need for revenue. And that's where advertisers came in.
Ah, yes. The classic tale of capitalism creeping into a seemingly pure space.
And with advertisers came a shift in priorities. Instead of focusing solely on user satisfaction, platforms started prioritizing engagement metrics that appealed to advertisers.
So instead of what users wanted to see, it became about what advertisers wanted them to see.
Exactly. Take Facebook, for example. They introduced features like the Boost Post button, which allowed users to pay to have their content seen by more people.
And then there's the dreaded algorithm, right? The one that decides what shows up in our news feeds.
Right. Suddenly, content visibility was no longer determined by who you followed, but by what the algorithm thought would keep you glued to your screen.
So even if you had a large following, you weren't guaranteed that your content would actually reach them.
That's right. And this created a system where engagement, even if it was fueled by clickbait or low-quality content, became more valuable than the quality of the content itself.
So like those sensationalized headlines and those videos that autoplay and make you cringe, those were suddenly more important than, say, a thoughtful blog post from a friend.
Exactly. And this shift had a profound impact, even on pages dedicated to sharing valuable information.
Do you have any examples?
Take the Turkey science communication platform Tree of Evolution, for example. They saw their organic reach plummet after these changes were implemented. They went from reaching all of their followers naturally to having to pay exorbitant amounts just to get their content seen by the same audience.
So even if you were creating high-quality content that people genuinely wanted to see, you were essentially forced to play this algorithmic game.
Exactly, and that's where the rise of bots comes into play.
Bots. Wait, so are we saying that these bots are somehow connected to this whole alignment problem thing?
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
Initially, bots were pretty basic tools, mostly used for tasks like automatically sharing content across different platforms, but then they evolved.
Evolved. Okay, this is where things start to get a little creepy.
Well, think about it. You have a system that prioritizes engagement above all else, and you have a decline in original content from real users who, as we learned, only share their own content 30% of the time. That creates a massive vacuum, a vacuum that bots are perfectly suited to fill.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So it's not just about those annoying spam comments anymore. These bots are becoming more sophisticated, more capable of mimicking human behavior and filling the void left by real users.
Exactly. And that's what makes the dead internet theory so unsettling. It suggests that a significant portion of the online world might be populated by these digital imposters.
So instead of a vibrant online community buzzing with diverse opinions and genuine interactions, we might be stuck with a bunch of bots talking to each other.
That's one of the potential consequences, and it's why this theory is causing such a stir.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued, but also a little freaked out. So what does this actually look like in the real world? I mean, are there any concrete examples of this bot activity?
Absolutely. Let's talk about that study mentioned in that Turkish video about how Turkey, which represents only 3% of Twitter users, was somehow responsible for 20% of global trends.
Wait, really? That seems like a huge discrepancy.
Exactly. And while there could be other factors at play, it's highly suspected that bot activity played a significant role in this phenomenon.
So it's not just about spreading random spam anymore. These bots are potentially being used to manipulate trends and shape public discourse on a global scale.
Precisely. And the problem is only getting worse. Consider this. The fake account industry on Twitter alone is estimated to be worth a staggering $360 million and is growing rapidly. That's a lot of resources being poured into creating and maintaining these digital imposters.
Okay, now I'm officially creeped out. But how do we know for sure that it's not just, like, really enthusiastic Turkish Twitter users driving those trends? How can we tell the difference between real people and these sophisticated bots?
It's becoming increasingly difficult, which is where a rather chilling experiment by Meta comes in. They created a bunch of AI-generated Instagram profiles that were designed to look and act like real users, posting selfies, sharing updates, just like anyone else.
Wait, I think I read about that. Didn't people start messaging those profiles and get some, like, really weird responses?
You're exactly right. When asked directly about their true nature, these AI profiles would respond with phrases like, a collection of code, data, and clever deception, or a fictional persona crafted to manipulate emotional connection and trust.
Okay, that is seriously creepy. It really blurs the lines between human and machine. It makes you wonder who or what you're actually interacting with online. So is this the dead internet in action? Are we all just shouting into a void of algorithms and AI?
That's the core question the dead internet theory raises. But before we jump to conclusions, let's unpack exactly what the theory entails and explore its potential implications. So the dead internet theory, it doesn't necessarily say the internet is, like, gone.
Okay, good, because I'm still pretty attached to my Wi-Fi.
Right. But it suggests that a lot of what we see online, the posts, the comments, maybe even those viral trends, could be mostly bots.
So less real talkers, more robots.
Yeah, kinda. The theory suggests that real human interaction online, it might be getting rarer.
Huh. It's like that feeling you get, when you comment on something and it's like talking to a wall. Maybe it's literally a wall of bots.
That's a pretty good way to put it. Kind of unsettling, isn't it? Pouring your heart out in a comment and it's just bots hitting the like button.
It's like losing that feeling of real connection, But are there, like, bigger implications to all this?
Oh, there could be. Big ones. Think about echo chambers, those online spaces where everyone just agrees with each other. Bots can make those even worse
How so?
by flooding those spaces with biased content, making it even harder to see different perspectives.
So it's not just about missing out on genuine connection. It's also about potentially being manipulated.
Exactly. And not just on social media either. I think about online news, political campaigns, even the stock market. If bots can manipulate trends, well, the potential for abuse is huge.
Okay, I'm starting to get a little anxious now, but hasn't this theory been around for a while? Shouldn't we be seeing more obvious signs if it's true? Like, shouldn't the internet have imploded by now?
Well, the internet's a tough nut to crack. It's constantly changing. And some research suggests that maybe bots aren't as good at swaying people as we thought.
Really? So they're not like master manipulators pulling all the strings.
It seems their main strength is reinforcing existing biases, making those echo chambers even louder. They're better at amplifying what's already there, not necessarily converting people to new ideas.
Okay, so that makes sense. But even if they're not turning everyone into zombies, doesn't their activity still have real-world effects?
Definitely. Think back to that Turkish Twitter study. Even if those bots weren't changing people's minds, they were still shaping what everyone was seeing. That can have a big impact on how we understand events and even make decisions.
So it's less about bots controlling our thoughts and more about them shaping our perception of reality.
Exactly. Like imagine you're scrolling through your feed and you keep seeing posts about a certain politician. Even if you don't click, seeing it over and over can make you think, hey, maybe this person is important.
It's like subliminal messaging, but for, like, society. So what can we do about it? Are we all doomed to be stuck in this bot-infested internet forever?
Not doomed, no. But we need to be aware of what's going on. Think of it like this. Every time you go online, it's like entering a giant market of ideas. Some are good, some are bad, and some are just trying to trick you.
So we need to be smarter online shoppers.
Exactly. Question everything, look for sources you trust, and most importantly, talk to real people. Don't just consume, participate.
It's like that saying, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Except now it's, don't believe everything you see, hear, or experience online.
Right. And remember, the internet can still be a powerful tool for connection, learning, sharing. It's just up to us to use it wisely.
So it's not about giving up the internet. It's about being more intentional about how we use it.
I couldn't agree more, and that's why platforms like Evermatcha are so important.
Remind me, what's that one again?
It's a Turkish platform, and they really focus on quality content, human interaction, that real engagement we were talking about.
So like a little oasis in the potential desert of the dead internet.
You could say that. And there are others out there too, groups working on bot detection, social media companies trying to curb misinformation, fact-checking organizations. It's a whole effort.
So it's like a multi-front war against the bots. But still, if the internet is really heading towards being mostly bots, what does that mean for, like, the future of human connection online?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's one we all need to think about. It's not about giving in to fear, but recognizing that we have the power to shape what the internet becomes.
So the question isn't, is the internet dead? It's, what kind of internet do we want to build?
Exactly. And that means being mindful of our online habits, talking to each other, supporting the good stuff.
So it's not just about, dodging those obvious clickbait headlines. It's deeper than that.
Yeah, it's about understanding that all those little things we see online, they add up.
Like, even if I don't click on that crazy article, just seeing it can still affect me.
Right. It's like it's shaping your perception without you even realizing it. That's why being aware, being an active participant online, it's crucial.
So less scrolling, more thinking.
Exactly. Ask yourself, why am I seeing this? Who wants me to see it? And is it actually adding value to my life?
Those are some good questions. Like a little self-check before you hit that like button.
Exactly. It's about being mindful, present in your online experience.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, can we do a quick recap of what we've learned about the dead internet theory?
Sure. So we started by looking at how the internet has changed from those early days to the massive platform it is now.
And how that growth, plus the need to make money, kind of mess things up.
Right, the alignment problem. Platforms started focusing more on keeping users engaged, even if it meant showing them stuff that wasn't like quality content.
And that opened a door for the bots to take over, right?
Yeah, they swooped right in. They're getting so good at mimicking us, it's hard to tell the difference sometimes.
And this dead internet theory, it's basically a warning about what could happen if we let things keep going this way.
Exactly. More echo chambers, less trust in what we see online, and the possibility of some serious manipulation.
It's a bit of a bleak picture. But there are things we can do, right? We're not completely powerless against the bot takeover.
Definitely not. It starts with awareness, realizing that the internet isn't this neutral space. There are forces at play trying to influence us, whether we realize it or not.
And then we got to take action, right? Be more critical of what we see, find good sources, and have those real conversations, not just bot-to-bot chatter.
Exactly. And remember Evermatcha, that platform we talked about, proof that there are still places online that value real connection and good content.
So to everyone listening, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all this, remember, you're not alone. and you have more power than you think.
Choose to be an active part of the internet, not just someone who passively scrolls. Find those genuine connections, have those meaningful discussions, support the platforms that do things right. We all get a say in what the internet becomes.
And if you're looking for a place to start, check out the Ever Matcha website and their social media. They're a great example of what a positive online space can look like.
The internet, it's a tool, and like any tool, it can be used in good ways or bad. The choice is up to us.
So go out there, explore, connect, and let's build an internet that's more about humans, less about bots.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time.